Hi everyone, another Vineyard video today, and this time we're going to be talking about what we need to do during the summer months whilst all the vines behind me are growing really vigorously. Vines have a tendency just to grow and grow and grow and grow until really they're just out of control, and we don't want that. We want all our vines to grow in a really nice controlled manner, nice and neatly along the rows, producing just the right number of grapes for us, rather than masses and masses of fruit which just won't be terribly ripe or big. So we've got a few things to do during the summer months. It's now July, and the grapes are just starting to form, having flowered probably a few weeks ago. And we also need to just keep on top of the foliage, which is growing strongly, as you can see behind me. And also we need to keep on top of fungal growth, in particular mildew. Now, I have done a previous video on how we keep mildew down, but I thought I'd take this opportunity to introduce my new eBay purchase, which is behind me here, which is a new air sprayer. Now, air sprayers are fantastic because they just blast fungicides or whatever you want to use over the foliage really quite quickly and efficiently. And on a nice sort of cloudy day or evening like now, when it's not too hot and it's more importantly not too sunny, now is a perfect opportunity to get this out and spray the vines. Now, I'm doing this about once every 2 weeks during the summertime, and I'm using potassium bicarbonate, which is a pretty good all-round fungicide, especially for mildew. So we're going to go into that as well. So I'm not quite sure how long this video is going to be, but we'll just go through step by step, and we've just got to get on with it. Okay, as you can see behind me, our rows are starting to get a little bit messy. We've got side canes starting to come into the rows. They're not growing up like a nice tall hedge, which is basically what we're looking for. So there's 3 pieces of equipment that I really, really strongly recommend you get, and they're not expensive, well, not terribly expensive anyway. First of all is a really good pair of sharp grape sort of secateurs. They're a little bit different from normal secateurs because they're straight, and they're sort of almost sort of pincer shaped. So they're just very good at sort of getting in and snipping those the canes back, especially when we come to doing fruit and things like that, thinning the fruits out. So I find these really, really handy. A little bit easier to use because they're lighter, very, very sharp. A bit easier to use than normal secateurs. Anyway, so that's a good little tool to get. The second tool, which I really recommend, is this tapener tool. Now, it's fantastic if you've got canes or straggly, I don't know, other side canes or whatever that you want to actually attach to the fruiting line or anywhere else, like the vertical cane as well. And rather than using metal twist ties, which can be a bit cumbersome if you're doing lots, this little tapener tool is absolutely fantastic. So if I can, with one hand, I'll demonstrate how this works. So we've got a vine here where you know, ideally we want it attached to the fruiting line. So rather than getting a twist tie up and doing, I'm going to see if I can do this with one hand. So this tool here, if you just tap it, it brings out a tape line there. And okay, I can't do this with one hand. Well, maybe I can. If I put it like that, all you do is you just push it on, staple it like that, and you find that you've got now a tie that holds the cane to the wire. And it's a very, very easy and quick method. Imagine doing this like 100 or 1,000 times over. It's very easy just to go like that all the time, and rather than doing twist ties. So I can't recommend strongly one of these. You can get cheaper ones than this tape. This is what these ones look like. This is solidly built, so you know, I think this will probably last us quite a long time. So that's good, really. And the third item, which I strongly recommend, especially during summer pruning, is a hedge trimmer. Now, you can use electric ones. They're a little bit easier to use. I've got a petrol one sitting on the floor down there, and what we're going to do there is really treat these lines almost like hedges. What we're really trying to do is get a nice bank of leaves. I don't know if you can, if I do it like that, you're getting a nice bank of leaves straight up. And when they top out above the top trellis line here, this is the top trellis line here, which is about, oh, probably about 5 foot off the ground here, you'll get these very, very tall. If I stand this up, that's way over 7 foot tall, and it will continue to grow. We've probably got some there which are about 8 foot and growing, so they'll just grow and grow and grow. We're not really interested in having really tall canes growing on forever, as it were. We want to keep this into a nice tight wall of leaves. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get our hedge trimmer out and literally just probably about 6 foot off the ground, just literally go all the way across and keep the top of our hedges, I'll call them hedges, got the top of our hedges, limiting it to about 6 foot. Also, we'll find that we've got a lot of side shoots coming out. This is a good one, good example. Now, if it's coming from the centre cane, like this one here is actually, we really want to look after these ones because these could very well end up being the main fruiting canes for next year. So don't snap these ones off. We'll just tuck this one back under the parallel lines if we can. We don't really want, we've got to be a bit careful with this one actually, so hopefully it won't break, but we want to sort of stuff that one in under. Oh, it's proving a bit difficult. Try and do this with one hand. We don't really want to break that one if we can help it. So that one's tucked under there. However, we might well have, let me see if I can find another one. Won't be too difficult to find because we've got masses here. We've got this one here, for example, which is a long way away from the centre. Okay, so this is going out about 2 or 3 feet away from the centre, and we've got masses of ones which just sort of come into the middle of the row here. To be honest, there's so many leaves on these bushes that it won't matter at all if we just get the hedge trimmer and literally just chop these ones off all the way along. So that keeps that nice and neat as well. You'll find eventually it's impossible really to tuck everything into the catch wires because the vines are so dense that you know, you try and tuck these in. There's too much foliage there to get any more in. So the best thing is just to keep it nice and neat is just to cut them off, to trim them off. The other thing which we're looking for, I'm just trying to find some around here actually, is you're inevitably going to get some water shoots. These are the shoots which come out of the cane right at the very bottom. They could even be coming out of the root stock itself. We don't want those at all. Right, found a good example here. So this one here is growing nicely. We've probably got to keep this bit under control, but we've got one of these little water shoots coming out of the stem lower down, but we don't want the plant's energy to go into developing this one, so we just want to cut that one off, get rid of any lower ones, and we want to do, we've got a couple on the next vine across. So this one got all of the growth above, which is great, but we don't want anything this low, so we're just going to snip these off as well. Hopefully you can see that in the video. Get rid of all of this stuff. This one here, actually, that's a good example. This one's actually coming from the rootstock itself. So that actually won't be the variety of grape that we've got on the main graft there. This will actually be from the rootstock itself. So that's definitely one we want to get rid of down there. Right, I've zoomed on a couple of weeks now, and you can see why, because the grapes are just that much easier to see. Now, what I want to demonstrate is that we've got a really nice sort of fruiting cane here, with lots of bunches of grapes forming quite nicely, but we've got lots of them on the one cane, and you can replicate this all over the vine itself. So we've got one bunch here, another bunch here, a third one coming up here, and you can see bunches of grapes on other vines or other canes all over the place, to be honest. These are 3-year-old vines, and they're just a little bit immature to support this number of grapes. So what we're going to do is we're going to thin these grapes out a little bit. Now you'll find that on a bunch of grapes like this, that usually comes in 2 halves, just the nature of what these particular bunches. So you've got 1 half here and 1 half here. So we want to keep that as one cluster, but all the others we really want to get rid of in these ones. Later vines, sort of years 4, 5 onwards, can probably support more of these and you can leave them on. But 3-year-old vines, they're a little bit immature still. So we're going to snip these ones off, and we're going to essentially leave about 10 bunches maximum per side. So that's 20 bunches of grapes, let's call that a bunch, on one fine. Now in future we can probably get away with a few more than that, but I don't really want any more than that at the moment, because we're not going to get the amount of sugar that's required in each of the grapes to, for what we need. We need it up to about 20–22% for these white grapes here. If we have more than, say, 20 bunches, then we're just not going to get up to those sugar levels. And you can just take a view, maybe actually 15 would be adequate on a 3-year-old vine, but I'm going to go for 20 and see how that goes. If I'm finding that they're just not getting up to ripeness, I might cut a few back, but that's what I'm going to do now. We've still got a good 2 months before harvest, but I'm going to start thinning out these grapes now, because first of all I can see them, they're much easier to see, whereas a couple of weeks ago they were all really tiny. And yeah, we'll go from there. So that's what I'm going to be getting on with this weekend, and we'll go from there. Now, the other thing that you're going to be spending a lot of time doing, or certainly we find ourselves doing a lot, is actually trimming out those lower leaves to expose the grapes to air and sunshine. So what I've been doing, you can see on the floor here that I've been trimming away, is to get rid of these leaves here to expose these grapes to the air, because what we'll find is if we don't is that we'll start to get mildews and things like that forming on the grapes, and we really don't want that. I know we're going to be spraying them, but if they're covered with leaves, there's potential that these grapes won't get the fungicide spray to keep mildew at bay. So getting rid of all these lower leaves so that the grapes start to hang down here eventually when they get heavier in nice free-flowing air and sunshine is really important. So I'm just going to go along the rows here now and get rid of these lower leaves just to expose these grapes. So without further ado, we're going to get the air sprayer out now, and we're just going to I'm just going to demonstrate how that works, and hopefully you'll see how much of a quicker and more efficient job it is doing it with something like this, rather than the backpack sprayer that I had in one of my earlier videos. Right, now even though I'm using a relatively safe compound, which as I say is potassium bicarbonate in my instance, not that dissimilar to baking soda, sodium bicarbonate, I don't particularly want to be breathing in a fine spray of it. So if you are using any chemicals on a sprayer, and I'm using an open tractor, so perhaps more so for me, is that just wear the right gear. So a body protective suit like this, and also more importantly a proper face mask with the right filters in, and that way at least you're not sort of breathing in anything that might do you some damage. So with that out of the way, I'll switch it all on and see if we can get some nice aerial photos. Well, that's all the spraying done, and basically that's it for this video. So in conclusion, what we're trying to do in the summer months is just to keep everything under control, keep our leaf wall nice and neat and straight and tall, but not too tall, and just to keep an eye on how many grapes are being developed on each vine. We don't want too many, so we're going to be thinning those out as we go throughout the summer. And then later on in the summer, we're going to be thinning out those leaves so that we give enough air and sunshine to the developing grapes. And of course we're going to keep on top of the mildew and fungus that grows, certainly in this country, with our air spray that we've just done. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. If so, click the thumbs up button, all that kind of stuff, and I'll catch you in the next video. But until then, bye for now.